In 1949, a kid was born into the busy post-war streets of New York. It was an urban environment where identity was often defined by the block you lived on. He grew up in a neighborhood dominated by Italian Catholic families. For him, going to Mass wasn't a religious calling, it was just where his friends were. He tagged along to Sunday services, mostly for the company and the snacks handed out at the end. His early social life was shaped by constant observation, particularly when it came to his romantic prospects, Irish girls from the local area, who seemed to make a habit of breaking his heart. But he remained an outsider in these circles. His own family was Jewish, and without a formal religious community of his own, he navigated these heavily Catholic spaces without a permanent anchor. Living between these different cultures forced him to adapt. He became a chameleon, a kid who realized that to fit in, he just had to watch how everyone else acted, and he learned to wing it on the fly. That instinct for improvisation was put to the test when his friends convinced him he needed to try confession. Out of pure curiosity, he followed them into a massive, echoing church, a place that felt entirely foreign to him. He slipped inside a dark wooden box, having no idea what the protocol was or what he was actually expected to say. He decided to play along, fabricating a list of fake sins to see how the priest would react. He claimed he fought his sister, stole money from his grandmother, and even hit his mother. He was pushing the boundary of the ritual, testing the limits of the illusion he was creating. The priest gave him his penance and wiped his slate clean, but then asked if he was actually a member of the parish. When the kid admitted he wasn't even baptized, the priest chased him right out of the confessional and down the street. Successfully navigating that sacred ritual showed he could handle high-stakes social tension with nothing but his wits. He found he could hold a room's attention, even when he was just making it up as he went along. Decades later, that same kid had transformed into a global music icon, performing in front of massive, roaring stadium crowds. He puts immense physical effort into the performance, pounding the keys to create the sound that fills the arena. But while the audience experiences a deeply emotional, timeless hit, the man behind the piano is often completely detached. Performing on a full stomach makes him feel sluggish, so he stays hungry on stage. By the middle of the set, he is usually starving. Even during his most famous melodies, his mind is on the hotel room service menu. He'll be halfway through a song while mentally debating whether the burger will be good or if the club sandwich is a safer bet. Sometimes this mental wandering goes too far. He'll get so distracted by his dinner plans that he misses a musical cue, forcing his bandmates to yell at him to snap back into the moment. Doing the same thing for decades turns even a celebrated performance into a repetitive job. The creative spark is eventually replaced by muscle memory and a wandering mind. Success at this level creates a sound so ubiquitous that the person who wrote it can never truly leave it behind. On a trip to Italy, he tried to find a real escape. He traveled to a remote village near Sorrento and found a quiet restaurant that seemed completely off the beaten path. The atmosphere was perfect, authentic food and old opera records playing on a gramophone. He was finally just another face in the crowd. Then a waiter recognized him. The opera records were put away, and the speakers immediately began playing one of his own songs. As his music filled the room, the entire restaurant stopped eating and turned to stare. He was no longer a customer. He was a celebrity on display, and the room was waiting for him to perform. The massive popularity eventually erased his ability to be an anonymous observer. He no longer gets to watch the room only watches him. The kid who once used observation to blend into the streets was Billy Joel.